Hey there, happy coders. It has been a long time no see. Many moons ago, I was doing these videos pretty often, a couple times a week, and over the last few weeks or months or a little while, I've been kind of distracted by school. Well, I shouldn't say distracted by school, but most of my time has been going to school, so I haven't had a lot of time to do these videos. But I find myself with a random hour to kill here, and to be honest with you, the alternative is to go clean my kitchen. So here I am. Without further ado, I'm going to stop rambling and, well, I'm going to start rambling about other stuff. The other day, I stumbled upon, or I like finally took a plunge into something that I had been kind of scared of for a while, and that is circle packing. I saw this a while ago when the lovely, wonderful, amazing Dan Schiffman posted a video about it. And to be honest, at that time, I didn't watch the video because when I did a search for circle packing, I went to this Wikipedia article and it seemed scary. Like, look at all this math. That seems really gross. I don't like it. It gets into some like theoretical, like all these kinds of things. And I thought to myself, that feels like homework, and so I don't like it. So I didn't watch the video. Long story short, I ended up watching the video, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Coding Train Circle Packing. It's great. Maybe I'll link to it in the description or something. But um, I finally watched this video, and the way that Dan approaches it is I don't want to use the word simple because it's not simple, but it I don't know. The way he did it fits in my brain a lot better than all that scary math. So ever since then, I've been kind of nerd sniped into thinking about this project, and he did it in processing in Java, and I couldn't find a P5 version. So my thought here is maybe I'll do a P5 version and play around with it myself. But I'm just gonna have fun with it and see where it takes me. So the general idea behind circle packing is you fill the screen with circles, but you want to position them in a way that they don't overlap. So maybe this is an example from like real life, but you can imagine that you position circles around the screen so that they fill the screen up in a sort of aesthetically pleasing way. And all right, that's enough rambling. That's enough talking. I've already wasted like 5 minutes of my hour here. So just to get something started, here I am over in the P5 editor, and I've got my beautiful gray canvas. So from here, I think what I want to do, there's a few ways I could do this. So the sort of algorithm is you have the idea of circles, which are an X, Y point and a size, and they grow over time, and when they have grown to a point where they're intersecting another circle, they stop growing. And you can add circles randomly, and as long as you obey that rule, where when they start growing, when they grow big enough to touch another circle, they stop growing. It'll kind of work. So I'm saying that because I'm thinking about the representation right now. My instinct is to use a class, but if I don't have to use a class, is there a way I could do it? Maybe with like an array of points, but then I'd still be using like a point class. So I might as well just create my own circle class. Why not? Let's do that. Ooh, it has been a while since I have coded in JavaScript. This is going to be rough. This is going to be fun. So I'm going to have a class circle. This syntax is going to probably be way off, but whatever. I'm going to have a constructor, and in that, do I ever want to give a specific XY? Maybe. So I think I'll just say X and Y. And can I say this dot X equals X? Is this a JavaScripty thing? We're going to find out in a second. This dot Y equals Y, and I want to say this dot R for radius equals some number. Let's say 5. Does that work? We'll see. It's not yelling at me yet. And then I'm going to have a function like draw, and in here I'm just going to say circle X, Y, R. Okay, let's see if this works. And just to get something started, maybe I will... I might as well just say I'll have an array of circles. So let circles equals blah, blah, blah. empty array, and then maybe in setup I'll initialize a single circle. So circles dot push, is it something like that? New circle with width over 2, height over 2, and I've spelled everything wrong and I've made so many mistakes. Anyway, let me save this and let's run this. And what I'm hoping to see is a tiny little circle right in the middle of the screen, or syntax error. Okay, well, I don't see the circle, and okay, that's because I haven't actually drawn it yet. So I'm going to use a for loop in a minute, but just to get this kind of working, I'm going to say circle 0 draw. Does that work? Nope. Okay, cool. This is kind of what I was hoping that I would get some errors. Okay, yep. X is not defined. That's because it's JavaScript, so I need this dot, this dot, this dot. I like that I'm kind of blaming it on JavaScript, but the thing I've been coding in instead of is TypeScript, and that also needs it. So I want to blame JavaScript for a lot of things that are really my fault. Okay, so I've got my tiny little circle, very cute, and that means that my core logic here is working. So from here, there's a few things I could do. One, I could make the circle grow a little bit. Like a little bit each frame, and that'll be something. But I think for now, the other thing I want to do is like add circles randomly. So let's try that. So first of all, I need this to be in a loop. So like for what's going to be like let c of circles, and then I do c dot draw. And can I auto format you? Yeah. All right, so that's a for loop. Nothing should change. Cool, cool, cool. And now I want to, like, every frame maybe add a circle. So just to get something working, I'll say circles dot push new circle with like a random x and a random y, random width, random height. Sure. Semicolon. As always, I'm running out of horizontal space just because I make my screen tiny so that it shows up a little better in the video. But okay, so now what I hope will happen is when I run this, circles should kind of randomly appear all over the screen. So let's run that and see. And that appears to be happening. That's cool. Okay, so one thing that you can maybe see, if I zoom in, maybe you can see a little better, is like the circles are being added randomly, but they're showing up sort of on top of each other. And that's a choice. I could say, hey, that's cool, there's just random circles on top of each other. But the whole point of circle packing is that you pack them in so that they don't touch each other or that they don't overlap each other. So maybe what I'll do next is add logic that says that prevents this from happening. So the way I want to do this, and this is kind of mirroring what Dan did over in his video, is okay. So right now what I'm doing is I'm creating a new random circle and I'm always adding it. So instead what I want to do, maybe I'll move this code just temporarily, is I want to create a new circle. So like let new circle or just C, it's a bad variable name, but we'll work with it for now. And then I want to have like an if statement that says if this circle does not overlap with an existing circle, then add it. So I might create a new function or something, or maybe I'll actually make it a function of the circle class. Let me think about this. I think I'll make it a function for now. I might change this in a second, but what I'll say is function does circle intersect, or maybe just circle overlaps, maybe. And I'll take a new, maybe a circle in here. So circle to test. And okay, what do I want to do here? I want to create a for loop that loops over the existing circles. So maybe I'll just steal this line of code for a second. And I will then say, I'll check each circle against my circle here. So maybe I'll write the if statement first. I'll say if circle overlaps and then C, then I don't want to add my circle. So maybe I'll just negate this and I'll say if not circle overlap. So if the circle does not overlap, then I will add it. Okay. So now I need to like actually write that code, which will do what? So it's going to return a Boolean, and I want to say, I'm going to have an if statement in here, and I'm going to say if C distance. So I'm going to use distance, I think. So if I go to the P5 reference and I remember the distance function, I think it's just dist, yeah, dist, which probably takes 4 numbers, x, y, x, y. Yep, yep, yep. Okay, so I'm going to say if dist of c dot x, c dot y, comma, what? Okay, here I've got c and circle. So I'm going to rename this. This is getting goofy. I'm going to say other circle. So I'm going to say if the distance between circle.x and circle.y and other circle.x, other circle.y is what? Less than their radii combined, is less than c dot or circle dot r plus other circle dot r. Then I'm going to do something. I'm going to return true. Return true. And then otherwise down here, I'm going to return false. And that's kind of a lot of code that I just wrote. And maybe let me take a minute to just explain like what the heck this is doing. And my horizontal white space is gross, gross, gross. But okay, what this is doing, what I hope this is doing, I'm suspicious that there's a, I think it's just complaining about my formatting. Okay. I have this for loop. First of all, I have this function which takes a circle, which right now I'm only calling it with this new circle that I've created. And this function, given that new circle, which has not been yet added to the circles array, it loops over the circles array. So it loops over the existing circles, and then it checks the distance between the new circle and the other circle that we are currently looping over. And it checks if that distance is less than the totals of their radiuses. Right now the radiuses are always 5, but we're going to change that in a second. And the reason this works is maybe I can do some shameless self-promotion. I think I wrote a tutorial on this many moons ago. Processing, it's in here somewhere. Collision detection, if I go to circle collision, the reason this works is if you think about the radius of a circle and the distance between the centers, when the distance between the centers is less than the radius of the first circle plus the radius of the second circle, then you know that those circles are overlapping. So that's the logic that I am doing here. That's the logic I hope I'm doing in here. So what I hope is true now is that now I will continue adding circles, but I'll basically skip over where I actually add the circle whenever the circle already overlaps an existing circle. So I'm going to run this and just see what happens. And cool, it's broken. So great, I did something wrong. I'm sure there's a problem in here. So circle.x, circle.y, other circle.x, other circle.y, dist is less than circle.r plus other circle.r. My curly brace is right. My other curly brace is right. Okay, so what am I doing wrong? Circle overlaps. Let's see. Let's add a print statement or something. Let's print out. Actually, let's print out just right here. Console.log. Can I just do circle? Let's see what happens. And hopefully that is working. Okay, so that is working. I am calling that function properly. So now maybe I'll say for let other circle of circles. Maybe I'll print in here console.log other circle. And I'll save that, run that. Okay, so it's 200, 200, which is right because it's always that first circle. Okay, so maybe I'll put this in a variable. Maybe I'll just print it out actually. Console.log, printing out the distance that I'm calculating. And let's see what that number is. I can probably get rid of this now. Run that. And okay, that's actually working. Okay, weird. Let's print out this number. I'm kind of expecting one of these just to be like not a number or something. Let's print that out. Let me get rid of this since that was working. Okay. So that's right, actually. That's always 10, so that's what I expected. What the heck? So am I returning the wrong thing? So circle overlaps returns Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Did you see that? Did you see what I did? Great. Uh, I'm just calling circles.push with nothing. I need to like actually push my new circle, and maybe I'll just call it new circle here, because that is a terrible variable. New circle. Okay. I think this will work now. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna let that sit for a minute. I'm gonna drink my delicious strawberry milk over here. It's technically juice. It's vegan. Anyway, um, should do sponsors or something. Okay, so this looks like it's working. It is now adding circles randomly, and the circles are never overlapping. I could prove it to myself by maybe like adding a print statements when I skip over the circle, but I think I trust this to be doing the right thing. Okay. Another thing I might do actually is maybe I'll increase the radius just so it's a little bit more obvious. So instead of 5, maybe it's, I don't know, 20. And let's try that. Yeah, so now I'm adding the circles, and I'm choosing a random spot on the canvas, and but I'm double checking. I'm saying, wait a second, before I actually add this circle, is there already a circle there? And if so, then never mind. I'm not going to try to add a circle this frame, and eventually it'll kind of run out of space and not add any new circles. I'm a little suspicious that that happened so fast. Um, Maybe that's just down to the power of random, but eventually, given enough time, this would kind of fill up. Let me see. Let me just test something out. If I put this in a for loop, let I equals 0, I is less than, I don't know, some number like 100, I plus plus. I want to just confirm that this does eventually kind of fill up the screen and that I haven't done something silly. So now it's like 100 times faster, and okay. I guess it's just down to the power of random. The thing I'm afraid of actually is that this number, this calculation is wrong, but I don't think it is. Hmm. What if I put it all the way up to like something crazy? This might break my computer. It's weird. I would expect them to get a little closer to each other. Um, so I wonder if there's something goofy in my logic with the distance. Oh, it doesn't like when I add new lines. I'm going to have to do that myself. Okay. Um, Maybe it wants that to be there. Circle.r plus other circle.r. Oh, wait. This is not a radius. This is a diameter. Okay, so I need to divide those by 2. Right. So I'm going to divide this by 2. Or I could maybe divide this by 2. What do I want to do here? Yeah, let's divide this by 2. So this is actually not a radius. This is a diameter. So, or I could multiply that by 2, right? So if this is a radius, but this parameter is a diameter, then parameter is diameter. I think I have to multiply it by 2. Well, we're going to find out. It's either going to get worse or better. And yeah, okay, that's a lot better. All right, cool. Yeah, I was a little suspicious of that, and perhaps rightfully so. So now my circles do kind of pack in, and they end up being really close to each other, but never overlapping, which is cool and kind of aesthetically pleasing. So let me decrease this size just a little bit just to see what that looks like. Okay, cool. I could even play with this a little bit, and I could say like random number between 5 and 20, something like that. And that might do something cool. Ooh, that's already pretty nice. I like that, even without the without growing. That's neat. So this is, I don't know, you could even stop here actually and say like this is how it's done. This is one way to do it. Anyway, I shouldn't say this is how it's done. I was really afraid of all that scary math on that Wikipedia page, but this is how I would kind of do it in my brain, which is why I liked how Dan kind of framed this. I don't think in terms of whatever this is. What I think about is if I was drawing this on a piece of paper, I would just draw circles randomly, but I would choose spots where there wasn't a circle. I would maybe put my pen down and see if there was already a circle there, and if there was, I would just not draw it there. So I really like that. So I could keep going with this. So there's another component to the way that Dan set his up where the circles grow over time. I kind of already like this, but I've got time. Maybe I'll play with the circle growing over time. Um, I could also maybe spend some time cleaning this code up just because this is kind of gross looking, but that's okay. Um, could also maybe move this into like a function or something. So like maybe I'll do that. Add circle. Mm, yeah, maybe I'll do that. So like add circles maybe, and then maybe I'll take a parameter of how many to add, and then I'll say function add circles, and then count or amount maybe. And in here I'll do that. So amount less than amount here. So let's see what I broke. Yep, something. Oh, do I need this dot? Does it need to be this dot? Function. Oh, add circles. Okay, cool. Could play with random colors as well, but I kind of like the idea of the circles growing over time. Let's see the difference between that and what this ends up being. So what I want to change is what? Is in here, in draw, I guess. Maybe. So maybe first I'll have like a boolean, maybe like this dot is growing equals true. And in here, I will say, first of all, if I'm growing, if this dot is growing, then I'm going to grow. I'm going to say this dot r plus plus. I could change that number. I could make it like I can speed it up or slow it down, but let's just add one every time. So let's just do this because I think it'll end up looking kind of goofy. But so now they're just kind of growing forever. And that's because we haven't added any code that does anything different. So what I want to do is say, after I've grown, now I want to double check. Have I started touching any of the circles? And if so, then I want to not grow anymore. Could I reuse this function? Ooh, this might get a little gross. Um, okay, what I'm thinking about right now is I could maybe reuse this function, this circle overlaps function, and it takes a circle, so I could pass in this, and then in here I need to double check that the other circle wasn't this, and that will work. It's kind of yucky only because you're going to be rechecking circles against circles like many times, and let me think about is that okay? Or is that even something I want? Um, no, let's do it the slightly smarter way. So the way that I could do this, which is kind of the brute force way, which it would work and would probably work fine, is I could say um, if circle overlaps or whatever I called it with this, then this dot is growing equals false. And I bet this will work. The other thing I have to do is, well, let me just run this and show you what will happen. So they aren't growing anymore. And that's because when I'm looping over all of the other circles, eventually I get to a point where other circle is the circle that I'm already checking. So I need another check in here, which says like, if circle equals the other circle, then I can just kind of continue my loop. So skip over that iteration of the loop and not return true if I'm overlapping myself. So I could run this, and I bet this will work. And that's pretty cool. And maybe I will change this from a random number just to 5. See what that does. And yeah, it's pretty cool. I like that. There's still, I could still play around with it a little bit because they are, uh, as they grow, they start to overlap just a tiny bit. So I could maybe add a buffer to it. The other thing I want to play with is doing this a slightly smarter way. And I don't know why I want to do it. I don't know why that strikes me, but whatever. It's spark and joy, and I am uh, doing this just for fun. So let's do it the fun way. So the challenge here, or the problem, it's not really a problem because it works obviously, but the thing that is sort of gross about this approach is I am iterating over every single other circle for every other circle. um, so that means that if I have 100 circles, then when I'm on my first circle, I am checking, circle 2, circle 3, circle 4, circle 5, circle 6. And at that point, I know whether circle 1 overlaps with the rest of them. So now when I get to circle 2, I already know whether that circle 2 overlaps with circle 1. I've already calculated that. But with this current code, I am doing it again. I'm just checking it in the other order. So what I want to do instead is maybe create a different for loop, maybe a smarter for loop that only checks the circles against each other one time. And I think it's still like a, what is it called? O of n squared, but yeah, it's okay. Who cares? Uh, so maybe I'll have another separate function that like checks the circles for that are already there for whether they should stop growing. So I'm going to rename this to like new circle overlaps, and I'll say new circle overlaps, and now I should get like an error because yeah, okay, because I haven't changed this. So I want this one to be like if actually no, I don't want to do this inside the circle anymore. I want to have a separate for loop that calculates this for me. Okay, yeah. So back up in draw, or maybe I'll add another function. So I have add circles, I have new circle overlaps, and I'll call this one like function, like stop existing circles growing, or yeah, stop existing circles, maybe. Sure. And so in here, what do I want to do? I want to have a double for loop, or double for loop, yeah, I think so, that starts with an index for let I equals 0, I is less than circles dot size, or is it length? Ooh, this is JavaScript stuff. I think it's length, size. We're going to find out. And then I++. Is that right? We're going to find out. Probably not. JavaScript array length. Oh, it's just length. Now I'm thinking in Java. Length, okay. And I don't think I actually call this anywhere, so I need to say that, okay? So, okay. So now I'm calling my function, and I have a for loop that creates an index for let I equals 0, and here I can say let like circle 1 equals circles of I, and now what I need to do is loop over the other circles, but I only want to loop over the circles that are after this circle in the array, because I would have already checked the current circle against against the circles that are before it. I'm not explaining that very well, but hopefully it'll become a little bit more obvious once I get going. So I want to say for let, I'll call this one j equals, and this is going to equal what? It's going to equal I plus 1 because it's the next circle in the in the array, and j is going to be what? J is going to be less than circles dot length, and then j plus plus. I am also going to need to make this less than -1 so that I'm not checking the last circle against the next circle, because there will be no next circle. So now I can say let circle 2 equals circles j, and now I can do my math. Now I can say if dist of circle 1 dot x circle 1 dot y circle 2 dot x circle 2 dot y is less than circle 1 dot r plus circle 2 dot r, then something. Let me save that and format my code a little bit. Good enough. So if the distance is if they're touching, then I want them both to stop growing. I want to say circle 1 dot is growing equals false, and circle 2 dot is growing equals false. Okay. Let's see if that works. does. And this is very likely just my imagination. I think I'm just, this is psychosomatic, but I feel like that was faster. It totally wasn't, but that's fine. Uh, but now I have a nicer for loop that avoids iterating over the entire array over and over again. Honestly, I don't think it makes a huge difference. So if the other way made more sense to you, you feel free to stick with that. But I just wanted to play with this kind of for loop, honestly. Um, so from here, what could I do? What time is it? Ooh, only half an hour. Okay. Um, there's a few things I could do. So first of all, there's some thing happening that is not sparking joy, and that's they are still kind of overlapping. So I could add a little bit of a buffer um, to my logic here, where I say if it's less than what circle1.r plus circle2.r, like plus some number, like plus 3-ish maybe, and I need that in a couple of places, don't I? I need that over here too. I could maybe refactor this to be a function. Maybe I will in a second, but let's see if this fixes my aesthetic issue. And I think it does. Maybe 3 was a little too much because now they're not even touching at all. I want them to touch but not overlap. So maybe 2 is the right number. Yeah, 2 feels right. And I guess that makes sense because like the border around them is 1 pixel, so probably 1 pixel, 1 pixel. Yeah, probably. uh, okay, so that's pretty cool. I could, there's a few things I could do. I could play with how fast they grow. So right now they're growing at 1, which actually ended up being pretty fast. So I could maybe change this to like plus equals 0.1. So they grow a lot slower. And that gives the circles, more circles pop up over time, so the circles end up being a little smaller. I could also play with, where is it, this number. I could maybe only add 1 circle at a time. And now the circles have a little bit more time to grow before a new one kind of pops up near it. So those are some parameters that you could play with. I think I am, since I'm trying, since for some reason I'm in a mood that I'm almost never in, where I want to like optimize it. I usually hate that kind of stuff, but for me, whatever, that seems to be the mood I'm in. Maybe I will refactor some of this into its own function. So maybe I'll say like function distance, or maybe I'll actually add it to the circle. Ooh, I do love that. So maybe I'll have a distance function inside my circle, which takes another circle, other circle, and then here I'll say return dist this dot x, this dot y, other circle dot x, other circle dot y. Okay, and now wherever I was calling dist before and then giving it 2 circles, I could say if circle dot dist other circle, and I could actually maybe put the 2 in there as well. Or maybe I could just say overlaps actually. Yeah. Let's do overlaps instead. So instead of calculating the distance here, maybe I'll say overlaps. So now I'm going to say return dist, and this is the same logic. It's just in a different place. Less than this dot r plus other circle dot r, and then here's where I'll add my 2. Okay, so now I'm only doing that. I'm keeping that logic in one place, and it's a little more like object oriented as well for whatever that's worth. So if circle 1 dot overlaps circle 2, and I need that up here as well. If circle, I should probably call that new circle. If circle dot overlaps other circle, and actually, right, I can just get rid of this entire function, can't I? Oh no, I can't. I got excited for a second, but no, I can't do that because I still need that loop. All right, so now I'm saying if circle dot overlaps other circle, and fine, I kind of want to call this new circle, but it doesn't really matter. New circle. Okay, let's run this and see what I broke. That seems to still work. Cool. I'm into it. Cool. So I think that sparks quite a bit of joy. I could maybe start them out even tinier. Maybe they start out really small. Nah, I kind of like the 5. Could maybe go back to having them be randomly sized between like 5 and 20. 20 was probably a little too big. Yeah, maybe 10. So anyway, this is stuff you can play with if you are curious, but this is where I start to nerd snipe myself a little bit. I think I'm going to stick with 5 though. 5 seems to be a nice middle ground. Um, okay, so the last thing I want to play with, and where are we on time? We're good. Cool. Um, the last thing I want to play with is the thing I always play with, and that is going to be random colors. Of course, it is. Uh, so right now the circles are all white, but and again, that's a choice. You can go with it if that's spark and joy. Then gray and white are totally valid. But first of all, I want to change this maybe just to like a dark background, just to have fun with it. And maybe it's a little too dark. Yeah. Okay. And then I want to give my circles a random color. So I'll say like this dot, should I just say color equals color random 255, random 255, random 255, random 255. And then here I want to say fill this dot color. This dot color. And now I hope that all of my circles are randomly colored. And they are. So I could kind of let that go over time. I'm into it. I could play with this a little bit more. So I like the difference. What do I do? I like to mix red and blue. That always looks really cool. Could maybe just have them be red and blue. That's cool. Could just make them black and white, but these are all things you can play with, and I invite you to remix this code and play with it that way. The other thing I could do is maybe pop up a circle like kind of around my mouse. Let's try that. So right now, where do I do that? I say add circles, and here I say random width, random height. And so that tries a random position kind of around the whole canvas. So instead, can I put this like around my mouse? So maybe I'll say like mouse X. Actually, first I'll just say mouse X, mouse Y, and I'll see what that does. Yeah, let's go with that. So right now I have two circles, one in the upper left and one in the sort of right in the center, because those are the two circles that have been added because mouse X, mouse Y starts out at 0, 0, and I haven't moved my mouse at all. So let me move my mouse, let me restart and then move my mouse around. So yeah, okay, that's kind of cool. And you can see that like as long as I move my mouse around, circles will be added, but if I move my mouse into an existing circle, then circles aren't added. So that's kind of the power of the circle packing algorithm. And the other circle, all the rules are obeyed. So that center circle did stop growing when it encountered another pre-existing circle, and that's kind of fun. It's kind of cool. I kind of want to maybe have a happy middle ground where it's not like directly on top of my mouse. Maybe there's some randomness, so I can say like maybe plus random negative, I don't know, 50-50. Give it some buffer. Same thing with mouse Y. Plus random of negative 50-50. And I don't know if I want to keep this code, so I don't know how much I care about formatting it, but that's fine. So now, as I move my mouse, maybe 50 was too much, but now it's kind of around my mouse instead of being directly on top of it. So maybe I should do like 20, maybe. And yeah, it's kind of cool. It's kind of zen almost. Maybe I'll bring back my green. So okay, I think I'm just about done, honestly. I don't know if I love the mouse stuff. I think that was fun to play with, and I encourage you to play with that if you want to. But I think I kind of like it just sitting there and watching it do its thing. So I think I'll just keep the random width and random Y, random height, random height. All right, so let's see what our final result ends up looking like. So to sort of summarize, the way this algorithm works, and all credit goes to Dan Schiffman. I really love how he framed this as instead of this like scary math, which initially scared me off, instead of that, he framed it in a, I don't know, in a friendlier way or in a way that like fit in my brain a lot better. And that is you try to put a circle in a random location, and if a circle is already there, then you just don't add it. Um, and as long as you obey that rule, as you draw new circles, they will never overlap with each other. Then there's this other kind of fun part where you grow the circles over time so that they end up being different sizes. You could just start them out at a random size as well. Either one works. But growing them over time kind of has that kind of trippy artifact where it kind of just looks cool. Um, but as you grow them, you then need to double check, like, as I'm growing, have I started overlapping with a circle? And if so, then I'm going to stop growing. And for whatever reason, I played with the for loop where instead of looping over every other circle, which totally works, it's totally fine to do it that way if that's what fits in your brain. But instead of doing it that way, I did this like slightly more complicated loop that only loops over the circles that are after this circle in the array, because otherwise you are checking circle 1 against circle 5, and then later you're checking circle 5 against circle 1. And when you're on circle 5, you don't need to check circle 1, 2, 3, or 4. In like when you're on circle 75, you don't need to check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all the way to 75. So you're saving yourself some amount of calculation. I think it probably doesn't end up making a difference, but whatever. Maybe I've just been thinking about job interview questions for too long. So anyway, I played with that. There's a few ways that you can do that, but either way works. But this is how I ended up going. And then the last thing I played with was random colors and positioning the circles in other ways using the mouse position. And it ends up being this kind of cool artifact. But I think I'll leave it there, and I'll say I encourage you to play with this. I encourage you to go check out Dan's video. He's is a little bit more entertaining than I am, and he is an inspiration for not just this video, but for a lot of the things I do. I tend to try to not do like the exact same thing as him in my videos, but in this particular case, I couldn't resist. He nerd sniped me successfully, and I've been thinking about this all week, so I needed to get it out of my brain. So thank you for watching. Thanks, Dan Schiffman, for your video and for all of your videos and everything you do. But I will leave it there and say, please let me know if you remix this code. I'd love to hear from you. Either hit me up in YouTube comments or on Twitter, or best yet, come to happycoding.io, come to our forum, and this is where I hang out. So if you post here, I will absolutely see it and I will absolutely respond to you. But I love seeing folks remix the code that I came up with, which in this case is a remix of Dan's code. So now we're a couple levels deep. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there and say thanks for killing an hour with me. Have a good rest of your day. And as always, of course, happy coding.